Hello, I hope you're having a lovely day today. In this Homemakers Chats video, I am sharing with you a recent thrift haul from last week, and then also yesterday we went to this fabric place that was closing down. I'll share more about that later, so I'll share with you what I got from there, and then the two books that I have been recently reading. So to start off these videos, I usually start with a word from the Lord just for encouragement for you. So today's is going to be from Psalm 92, verses 12 through 15. The righteous flourish like a palm tree and grow like a cedar in Lebanon. They are planted in the house of the Lord. They flourish in the courts of our God. They still bear fruit in old age. They are ever full of sap and green, to declare that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. I hope that your August has gone well so far. I can't believe we're already nearing the end of it. I love summer, so I'm trying to embrace it as much as possible. But I do have a victory. So if you watched my grain mill video, I have been grinding my own wheat to make breads and everything for the past little over a year. I got my grain mill in April of 2022. And it has been a journey, but recently I was on the Breadtopia website and there's a forum there, and this guy back in 2018 shared his recipe. It was kind of a vague recipe, but he shared his ingredients and how he makes his sourdough bread with fresh milled flour. And so I tried that the other day, and it was the most glorious loaf of bread I've made since making bread with fresh milled flour. I've just gotten used to our bread being very, very dense, and I thought that was just what we were dealing with. And when I used his recipe, it was amazing. So I'm going to do a video on that soon for those of you who are interested in that. I did it again this morning, but this time I sprouted our wheat berries. I did a combination of rye and hard white wheat, and I sprouted them and then dehydrated them in the dehydrator and then ground them up and made bread with sprouted wheat. And this is the first time I've ever done that at home. At one point I did buy soft white wheat that was sprouted from Azure, but if you buy sprouted wheat, it is nearly triple the price. And so because I had a successful bread recipe that was so delicious, I was like, you know what, let's just try taking the next step. And sprouting the wheat berries was not as challenging as I thought it was going to be. It only took a day. For some reason, I was thinking when you sprout greens like broccoli seeds or mung beans, it takes a few days. And I soaked them overnight, rinsed them, and then later that day I rinsed them again, and then that evening I rinsed them again, and then by that point they had their little tails already. And what I read is as soon as they get that little tail just barely poking out of the wheat, that's when you know it's sprouted. So then you can go ahead and dehydrate it. And I made that loaf of bread this morning and it turned out so good. So that felt like a huge win. And then I have been reading, I have never read Anne of Green Gables, and about a month ago we went to a peddler's mall type of place, and there was this Anne of Green Gables book for $8. And my homemaking group, someone mentioned that we had a thread on books to read, recommended books, and someone mentioned Anne of Green Gables, and I was like, you know what, I have never read Anne of Green Gables, so I would really like to start looking for it. So when we came across it at this antique place, I was on the fence about it because $8 feels like a lot for a used book to me, but it is a vintage old version, and so Scott's like, why don't you just get it? And so I was like, yeah, I'll get it. And you know, it is really beautiful. So I mean, the way that the pages are, I think is really pretty. So I ended up getting it, and you can see I am nearly done with it. I have been hooked. Every morning after our Bible reading time, we have our own reading time, and that's usually when I'll read this, and then usually later on in the day I'll go out into the sunshine and read it, or we've been trying to be very intentional with going to our stream across the road, and we have chairs over there now, so we'll sit and read books over by the water, and it's so peaceful. So I feel like I've been flying through this book and I love it. It is such an enjoyable, beautiful read. I've really enjoyed it. So now I'm on the lookout for all of the other ones because I'd like to continue reading them. And if you have daughters, I could imagine how this would be a fun book for them to read. And then the other book that I've just recently started getting into is this book called The New Emily Post's Etiquette Book. So I got this at an auction when we lived in Indiana. I thought it was really interesting looking, but I've never actually gone through it. And Scott and I did a video on manners on our page together. And so it's reminded me that I had this book on etiquette. I've gone through the first chapter and it's really interesting. So it's old, so some of the things aren't necessarily applicable to our time period, but there's a lot of really interesting points in it. This edition was written in 1975. First edition of this book was written by her mother in 1922, and that's what this is based off of. And I'm really excited just to read through it. I think it really helps me just be aware of ways that I can improve in my manners, improve in my etiquette, also be confident in group situations like at churches or events. It's really helped me with these things. I also have to share this with you. When I opened this up, obviously we got this from an auction, and these people put their newspaper cuttings in it, and there was this newspaper article from 1979. It's the Dear Abby column, and it goes through the wives' 10 commandments, which I thought was really interesting. This would never be published in a newspaper today. But this is what she wrote. The 10 commandments for wives. Defile not thy body, either with excessive foods, tobacco, or alcohol, that thy days may be long in the house which thy husband provideth for thee. Put thy husband before thy mother, thy father, thy daughter, and thy son, for he is thy lifelong companion. Thou shalt not nag. Permit no one to tell thee that thou art having a hard time of it, neither thy mother, thy sister, nor thy neighbor, for the judge will not hold her guiltless, who letteth another disparage her husband. Thou shalt not withhold affection from thy husband, for every man loveth to be loved. Forget not the virtue of cleanliness and modest attire. Forgive with grace, for who among us doth not need forgiveness? Remember that the frank approval of thy husband is worth more to thee than the admiring glances of 100 strangers. Keep thy home in good order, for out of it comes the joys of thy own age. Honor the Lord thy God all the days of thy life, and thy children will rise up and call thee blessed. I think I'll either take pictures of these or I'll type them out and give her credit for them and put them on my blog, because there's also one for husbands as well, which is really interesting. I think they're just really fun, especially knowing that these days this would never be put in a newspaper. So I always think it's fun, all these newspaper clippings that get saved in old books. So those are the two books I've been going through and really loving. Now I want to share all of the things that I got from a thrift store last week. We used to go to antique places, auctions, thrifting all the time at our old house. There was 2 auctions around us that were weekly, and they were so good. I could get things for $1. It was amazing. Since we've moved, I've had a really hard time finding those type of places. I ended up shutting down my Etsy shop and my Instagram store because at our old place, I could get things for $1, I could get many things for $1 and still feel I was selling them for relatively a good price and still make a good profit margin off of them. And since we've moved, I haven't been able to find many places that sell things for good prices. I don't feel like I get as many good deals here. So normally when I go thrift shopping or antique shopping, or I do a few online auctions every now and then, I'm just looking for stuff for myself. Last week we were going hiking, and it was in this little town, and we just like to drive around this town because it's really pretty, and we happened upon a Catholic thrift shop. And from our experience, Catholic thrift shops are the very best because it's usually volunteers, they're usually in small towns, and so they price things really well. They price things to sell. So I was so excited because I haven't even gone thrift shopping very much recently because the thrift shops around us, I just feel like they're way overpriced. So this Catholic thrift shop happened to have a sale going on for 50% off all of their kitchen goods. I was pumped. So Scott went back and looked at all the books, and I browsed the rest of the store. So the kitchen stuff's what I'll start out with first. There was these 2 little mugs, which I thought were just so cute and dainty. They are the Covington Edition stoneware made in Japan. and I think they're really pretty. A few months ago, we went to a different Catholic thrift shop and I got these mugs for 50 cents each, and they were so pretty. I actually kept them for myself, but my thought then was if I ever come across really pretty mugs, then maybe I will sell them as like a package deal on my website with the rooibos tea that Scott and I bring in from South Africa. So when I saw these, they were marked 25 cents each, and then with it being 50% off, they were 25 cents for both. And I just love the way that these mugs feel. They feel very cozy with a cup of tea, and I like the shape of them. So for 25 cents for both of them, I had to get them. I couldn't pass them up. And I also really like the cream color of them. And then we got these. I have never seen mugs like this, so if you go antique shopping, you'll often see this glaze pattern of the browns and the cream, but I've actually never seen a mug like this before. So my curiosity was sparked, and they were 2 for $8, and so they ended up being $2 each with the sale. And when we went up to check out, the lady said that these are no slip mugs. They have this like foam at the bottom, and she said they're for which we would never use this for that, but she said it's for if you're driving and you want to sit it on your dash, it won't slide around. She said it's also like you can walk with it and not worrying so much about spilling it because of the shape of the mug. I just thought they were really cool, and I have a lot of this brown glazed ceramic ware, so for $2 and how unique and pretty they are, I could not pass them up. And then along the same lines, there was these two, and they were marked $1 each, so they ended up being 50 cents each. And this one is obviously meant to have a little lid on the top, and that was missing, but I still thought it was really cute. So a little cream and sugar. It's just marked Taiwan, and I like this type of stuff, one, because I like the style of it, but it's very functional. So I can put paintbrushes in it, I can put dry erase markers in it. There's always things I can use for these type of things. And next are these apothecary jars, which I actually don't see that often. So I have 4 of them. I'll start off showing these 2 because they're matching ones. And one thing I will say, whenever we go thrift shopping or get things from auctions, I always wash them. Either I'll spray them down, wipe them down outside, or if it's stuff like kitchenware, I'll bring it in the house and wash it right away. So all of these have already been washed. So these are identical. They were marked $1 a piece, so they ended up being 50 cents, and they just have these little lids. So these are vintage apothecary jars, and I thought I would try to use them in that similar way. I've thought about infusing oils in them, like putting my herbs down in it, and you can make a calendula oil, a rooibos oil. So a basic easy way of making any type of oil is you put your dried herb at the bottom, and then you make sure there's about an inch of oil covering the herb, and so you can use however much dry herbs you want, and just always make sure it's covered by 1 inch of the oil that you intend to infuse. So if you're doing calendula jojoba oil, which is really good for a cleanser for your skin, you just put your dried calendula flower petals down and then cover it with your organic jojoba oil. I get my organic jojoba oil from iHerb. That's the best price that I've seen for it. I do have a link with them below, and I think I have a coupon code with them too, but I'll make sure that that's linked. So I thought about using these for that, but my only concern is the seal is not going to be super tight. So the way to get around that, I'm thinking, is to put parchment paper down, and because it does have this lip, I can use a rubber band, and that's how I'll keep the seal, and then just put it on. And I think that's what I might do, because normally I use mason jars, but I am needing every mason jar that I have for canning. So I thought if I just used these jars, it would work out really well. So I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. Either way, they're just really beautiful. Even if you just stored like your sewing needles or buttons, or I don't know, there's just so many cute things to display in them. So I got both of those matching ones for 50 cents each. And then there was this one was marked $2, and I really liked this one because of the wide lid. I think this one's so pretty, and it also has the narrow base. So I got this one for $1. And then this one I didn't love as much, but since I got the other three, I couldn't pass it up. And this one also has more height than the others. And this one was marked $3, and so I got it for $1.50. And this also would be really pretty with Q-tips in the bathroom on display, especially like the guest bathroom. I just think that's really cute. So those were the apothecary jars. I was very happy with that. That is all the kitchen stuff that I got. And now onto the sewing artsy type of things. So they had, I don't know what it's called. All of you quilters out there will probably know what this is called, or embroiderers. Embroidery ring? Is that what it's called? I don't know, but I really like this. And recently I saw a woman on YouTube. She had a tutorial for making a crochet backing around one of these and then embroidering into the crochet pattern, and it looked so beautiful. If I can find that, I'll link it below, just because I feel like I'm not describing it very well. But that was my idea for this. It was $2, and if you buy these from the store, they're definitely more than $2. And sometimes, I don't know how many thrift stores I've been to, and they only sell one piece, and it doesn't make any sense to me. So thankfully, this was taped together, so it wasn't going to lose its partner, and it's a decent size. So my thoughts behind that is embroidering into it. I have a really hard time saying that word, but I'm gonna probably end up saying it again because this is the next thing that I got. I have never seen one of these loops on a stand, and when I saw this, it just caught my attention. I thought it was so cute. It has these little flower petals on both sides of it. I like the color that it's stained, and it's so little. Again, it has both of the rings, which is amazing. This was also marked $2. My thought with this is, how cute would this be with an embroidered scripture into it, and then sitting on a nightstand or on our dresser and having word art in it. That was what my thoughts were. I just really liked it. I thought it was really cute, and I've never seen anything like it. I also ended up getting these 3 crochet needles, so they were 25 cents each. This is size I. I think I actually have this size, but my mom said, because she crochets, and she said you can never have enough needles, and so when I saw this for 25 cents, I had to get it. And then there were these two, and I definitely don't have these sizes because they are tiny. You can see how little they are. They're so little. And I imagine that this is for those dainty little doilies. And then there were these knitting needles. So I think this is called knitting in the round. And I do have one of these sets that I bought. It's actually how my friend Margot introduced me to knitting, was knitting on the loom with the bamboo needles. So I prefer the wood bamboo ones, but these are actually very expensive, these knitting in the round, compared to what I got it for. I got it for $2. So it's going to be more expensive from that if you get it from the store. And so I had to get it, and this was a different size than the one I have. This is a size 5, and the one I have, I believe, is a 4.5. And then they had these. They look orange in this lighting, but it's definitely more of a muted orange, like a fall orange or an autumn orange. These were $1 for all of these buttons, and I'm slowly getting into sewing, and so I think it's nice to have buttons that are useful and are pretty, and I think would match my color palette of things that I have. And then there was this brass candlestick holder. So when we used to do all of our antique thrifting and auctioning, this is probably what I would sell the most of on Etsy, is brass candlesticks. And I have never seen one so petite. This one looks like it's a shrunken candlestick. I'm so sad it didn't have its partner, but I couldn't resist. It was $3, and I love brass candlesticks. I actually brought my little beeswax candle out because you can see what it looks like in it. It fits perfectly in the hole, and it's so cute. And now we are on to the books. The books were 50 cents for the soft covers and $1 for the hard covers, which is a great deal. Scott got this one, Time Tactics of Very Successful People. It was written in 1994, and we just like these type of old learning books, strategy type of books. And then there was this one as well, 52 Weekend Garden Projects. This one's really cool because it's by the season, so things that you can do in each season, and it's very practical things you can do. So like building an arch in the spring. And this book is very practical. There's a lot of practical knowledge, like growing gooseberries, how to press flowers, constructing a stone wall. And we just thought this was a really fun book to have in our library. Same with this one. This is a tree book that Scott picked out. It was written, this is definitely an old book. This was written in 1946, and it's really cool because it basically is a tree identifying book. So it goes through all the different types of trees, the bark, what it looks like, and I just think this type of stuff is so useful. I was so pleased because we were hiking this weekend and we happened upon this tree, and I immediately recognized its leaf and that it was a sassafras tree. I ended up looking at my phone later and it definitely was. And the reason I knew was because this spring I wanted to see if we had any sassafras trees on our land, and sadly we don't. But if you look up the leaf of a sassafras tree, it's very unique. To me, it kind of looks like a dinosaur hand. It's these 3 leaves that poke out, and it's very unique. So I was so excited that I was able to identify a tree. It's just so rewarding. It's like when you're learning herbs and then you end up being able to identify herbs or wildflowers. This summer I bought a wildflower identification book for our area so I could identify the wildflowers on our land, and that's been so fun. And I imagine these are just the fun things that you could do with your kids when you're homeschooling, is helping them identify trees, because I feel like that's such useful information. So having books like this that you have in your library. And then I got these 2 oil painting books, and I don't oil paint, but I did just recently buy oil paints because I really like the look of landscape oil paintings. So I thought I would buy both of these for their price, and both of these are landscape style, so gives you techniques of mixing colors, how to hold the brush, just things that are very helpful in the process. Yeah, so I was very excited about those, but I will say the one that I was most excited about was this one. It is a giant crochet book. So my mom has been teaching me how to crochet. She is my inspiration for this. Right now I'm just following YouTube videos, so finding things that I like from YouTube and then just watching what they do and doing that. I am not great at reading patterns because I don't fully understand what all of the symbols mean, but I definitely feel like the more I'm doing the YouTube tutorials, I am growing in that. So I think if you want to get started with knitting or crocheting, there are long tutorials of things you can do, and start with something small that you can finish, because I feel for me that's really rewarding, is finishing the project. So start with simple things. We were at this mid-mod store the other day, and there was this old apron which I thought was so cute, and it was bordered with crochet. And then I ended up looking in this book, and it shows you how to do that exact thing. That is why I really like this book, because there's so much things in it. So it shows that you all the little borders and these as well. And then it goes into really small refined projects like doilies. It shows you how to make animals, like a little stuffed bear. It's just filled with amazing things, little slippers. All the crochet books that I've looked at, this one was the most detailed one that I've seen, so I was very excited about that. And then the last book that I got, this is more of just like a coffee table type of book, but I found it really inspiring because the cottage garden has been an inspiration for us with our garden this year. And so when I saw this book, it's called For Your Garden Window Boxes, I just thought the style of it very much reminded me of cottage garden styles. So the houses are very beautiful, and it just has really fun ideas in it, especially for things like garden sheds and stonework, how beautiful stonework is. There was this one, I love this one with the old wood shutters and the stone wall. I thought it was very beautiful. So I like these type of books just because I find the beauty in them to be inspiring with beautifying our own home. So that was the Catholic thrift shop that we went to. And then yesterday we ended up going to this house. So a lady from church had told me that there is this Facebook Marketplace ad for a place that is selling bolts and bolts of fabric for amazing prices. So I ended up messaging the lady on Facebook. We go to the property, and the man that was there, it was his, I believe, grandparents' or his parents, I think it was his parents, they had started this drapery business in 1947, and they had done projects for Sears. So there was tons of beams of fabric, tons of them. And the lady there that was helping sell things said that they had sold through a lot already, but there was still so much there. I got over 40 yards of fabric for $40. And I was very picky. In these type of instances, I can get very excited and overbuy. And a lot of the fabric, it was very nice, but it was a lot of older fashioned type of design. And I think for some people in some houses, it would look really good. It just wasn't really stuff that I wanted, but I really liked all of the natural fabrics that they had. So I'll show you this stack in a second. They ended up just giving me that stack, but I got a lot of this style of fabric. So you can see it's just a natural Hessian color. I think maybe that's what it's called. And that's a natural canvas. I like the darker color of that. I got a huge amount of that. I mean, huge. These ended up being less than $1 per yard, and I've already washed all of them. I washed all of these yesterday. I still have one that's outside that I need to wash, and then I have another one that I just washed and it needs to go into the dryer. So these are just the ones that I've washed. The one that I did wash is a navy blue one with a floral pattern, which is really pretty. And then I got both of these natural colors as well. This one's definitely a canvas one. This one has more of a pattern on it. My thoughts with this is for journal making. You guys have sold me out of my journals on the website, so I've been slowly making more. I will do an upload and I'll let you know when I upload the new fresh batch, but it's not going to be in this next group. But I'm thinking for coming up to Christmas, I want to embroider into a few of the covers with this fabric and have scripture journals. So that's my thought behind all of this fabric. I also would love to make my own clothes with this, but I'm very nervous about that still. I just need to start doing it. I think that's the only way I'm going to learn to make clothes, is just to try it. So I need to do that. But I was really excited about all of these natural colors. And also what's nice about these, especially this canvas one, these, I did wash all of these, so some of them are a little bit rough because they were in the dryer overnight. It's so pretty. And these are all just samples. So these were off in the corner, and I had asked the man, are these for sale? And he was like, oh, you can just have them. And I was like, what? I mean, these type of sample fabric, it is the nicest linen cotton feeling fabric. It's definitely cotton, but it feels so nice. It's so quality made. And if you were to buy these like scrap pieces from a store, it would end up costing a lot of money, because look how much I have. And it's all of these gingham style. Oh, I have one floral one in there. There's that. But they're so pretty. So I also think I'm going to use these to make journal covers, because I love the vintage feel of them. They feel very beautiful and elegant. I'm very excited about that. So I was pumped about that. They were so friendly. And then amidst all of the fabric was this old dictionary. So I had asked the man, I said, if you're selling the dictionary, I would love to buy it from you. And he was like, why do you want dictionaries? And I was like, I just love old dictionaries. And I also have been having this idea for old dictionaries that aren't that nice, that you wouldn't want to keep bound, kind of like this. Like, it's not in the best of condition, of repurposing the paper, of finding new ways to use it. I have some ideas in store for it. But he was like, oh, you can just have it. So he gave this to me for free, which was so kind. I'm very excited about it. And then he comes over before we leave, and he makes these crosses out of wood, and he gave one to both of us. And on the back it says Ruach HaKodesh, which I believe means the breath of God. And they are so cute. Just things like that. It was so much fun. It just kind of felt like a God appointment, because it was just them. No one else was there, even though I overheard her say there was supposed to be other people showing up. They never came. And we ended up talking about God with them. They were Christians. And it was just such a cool experience. We go out to the car, and as I'm getting into the car, he's like, wait, I have something else for you. And he hands me this old Webster's dictionary. And he said this was his wife's mother's dictionary. and he wanted me to have it because he knows I like old dictionaries. And it was so kind of him. So it has her name in it, Nan Marie Vineyard. Oh, it's so cute. So I will forever treasure this. This is not going to be a dictionary that I end up taking apart because it's just really special. So this was copyright 1936, made in the USA. Praise God. Pronouncing vocabulary of common English Christian names. That'll be interesting to look at. It was so cool. It's amazing to see how God directs your steps in the midst of your day, of places that you decide to go, and then how the Holy Spirit brings about conversations and you end up meeting other believers, and it was just so much fun. We had the best time. So I hope that this has been fun for you to watch, and I bless you. I bless the work of your hands and the rest of your day.